Welcome to the 5 a.m. grind. Harris, what's up, man?
Not much. What's up with you?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good, man. I don't know what's going on, but the Fed, the Bank of Canada, everybody's raising rates. Uh, yeah, it's an
I
interesting
I
time.
mean that's kind of expected. Okay, that's definitely expected.
Yeah,
What's insane is redefining what a recession is.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you see
Right.
what's going on in the news where it's like in the States, especially where it's like, you know what, two declining quarters don't necessarily mean a recession. It's
Yeah,
just one of several factors we have to look at.
right, right. I think Jay Powell is confident. So Jay Powell is the U.S. Fed chief.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just confident that the unemployment market is still, it's good. Unemployment's low. There are plenty of jobs available.
Yeah.
Inflation's high. He wants to tame inflation, so he's raising rates. Doesn't give a crap about anything else right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like inflation is high. I feel like GDP went contracted 0.9%, but if you look at like inflation being close to 8%, with a 1% contraction, it really contracted like 9-10% from official numbers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because if you look at how much, forget about like the nominal value, the real value of goods that's kind of exchanged,
yeah.
GDP's gone down. So I
Uh,
definitely feel like, and that's, I would say probably contracted more than that, contracted
yeah,
probably like 15-20%. I wouldn't be surprised. That's one thing.
yeah.
The second thing is in terms of the job market, I feel like that's BS. I think if our listeners want to listen to another podcast, Peter Schiff has a really good one, and he goes
On
over,
this.
yeah. So he talks about how like enough of the job that were created, were created for. So he does an analysis of how many people the participate
Participation.
precipitation people
Precipitation.
precipitation. So people who are in the job market, right? So
Yes,
people who are in the job
participation.
market,
Uh-huh.
and how like there's no new people coming in.
Right.
So how are but the unemployment is kind of staying the same. So
Yeah, yeah,
how are
yeah.
more people getting jobs without more people coming in and without it affecting? So his conclusion was that
Yeah.
um it has to be people getting second jobs and third jobs because they can't afford to survive off of the jobs they've got. So the job creation, he says, is a farce. But it's a
Interesting.
good, his analysis is good. I really like it. I would suggest everyone to check it out.
Interesting, interesting. All right. Awesome. So topic for today, Harris, was buying a business.
Yeah.
All right, we'll cover four questions. Number one, is buying a business risky? Number two, what prevents you from buying a business today? Number three, are acquisitions generally successful? And number four, talk to me about your experience buying a business.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And by your, we mean Ollie's, because I have
Okay,
not
okay,
bought a business.
right, we can cover my
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
All right, Harris, is buying a business generally risky?
Depends on what kind of business. So
Yeah,
yes
the,
and no.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the risks to everything in life. The risks to me, like getting in my car and driving.
Yeah.
There are risks to buying a business, just like there is with anything, any decision
Yeah.
you make in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are definitely risks involved. Would you say the stakes are higher when you're buying a business?
So again, it really depends on the business. So because I know
Ah,
the frame of reference that like we're getting is like professional services. But if you kind of
correct.
broaden that, right, and
Yeah,
look into like, if you're buying a Tim Hortons franchise,
yeah,
you're essentially buying it because you want to minimize the risk as opposed to starting your own coffee chain, right?
correct,
So in that
correct.
sense, it is less risky, but then your return is less. With for example, I mean, you'd be in a better position, but for example, professional services,
Yeah,
would I, for example, buy another law firm? Man, I
yeah.
would have to
Okay,
think
yeah.
long and hard for that one, man. I would like,
Really? Okay.
yeah, yeah, because like there's so much, man. The risk behind it is, like, are the clients going to stay? What
Yeah,
prevents them from leaving?
yeah.
Because a lot of these professional services firms,
Mm-hmm.
especially the ones that I'd be looking into, aren't
Yeah,
going to be multi-billion-dollar machines that have things kind of running on their own. It's going to be smaller shops that are where the owner is very hands on and involved, and so they're basically the brand. The business does not have a brand in itself. It
Mm-hmm.
is the owner. So that, dude, that's just the, I don't know, man. That's a risky. It could be risky. It could work out too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no,
No,
it is very risky in that sense.
it is, especially if you're gonna buy the business with a loan,
Yeah,
some sort of financing, and you're having to put security for that loan. It is risky if it doesn't turn out well.
yeah,
And yeah, you're absolutely right. If half of your customers decide to leave because now there is a new owner of the business,
yeah,
what do you do then? You're kind of screwed.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely risky. It doesn't it's not a decision without its risks.
Especially a first business. I do feel like the risk.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Like
Yeah.
buying the second business, if you
Mm-hmm.
bought the first one already, in
Yeah.
similar industry, the risk is like there's less that unknowns for yourself. There's more knowns, right? So you know how to navigate the waters a little bit better.
Yeah, you know what you should look for, what to
Yeah,
avoid,
yeah,
pitfalls, etc. No, for
yeah.
sure. Um, okay, question number two was gonna be what prevents you from buying a business? So you said for yourself, I think you kind of answered it. You said just the trust of the clients and
For me personally, yeah, it is.
yeah,
It's the like you're putting a lot of money in, and
yeah,
when I say buying a business, I'm talking about buying another law firm and acquiring it into our own.
yeah,
I just feel like there's a lot of risks because in a lot of ways we have some systems. So you have an organizational culture. Is that going to work out? How does that work out? You have to really make sure this firm is good. You can't just go and buy whatever you want. You have to
mm-hmm,
see how the previous owner or operator kind of ran the business. There's like a lot of
correct.
things that you kind of need to look at before you begin to wrestle the or take the idea seriously in terms of buying. So I'm not, it's not something that I totally would never do.
Mm-hmm,
It's something that I do find um in a lot of businesses, it's a very good way to expand. I do feel for small shops, for law firms, it's very difficult to expand in that sense.
mm, got it,
It's
got
not
it.
scalable that easily.
Yeah, yeah. If I was to answer that question, what prevents you from buying a business today? Well, nothing. I've done it. Might be looking to do it again in the future as well.
Would you do it
Maybe
again?
would I do it again? Yes,
Yeah.
yes, differently, but I would do it again.
Yeah.
I'd look for different things, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. My DD criteria would be different, etc., etc. But would I pull the trigger if I found a good one? Yes, the answer is yes. Um, yeah, maybe we should cover this. I should have covered this at the outset. But yeah, the way I sort of got into my own business was I launched my own firm, quit my job, went full time, found a business, another accounting firm that was seemed to be like a good fit, and bought it. And so basically, I now have a bigger accounting firm. And the idea behind the whole idea behind doing this was
Yeah.
I wanted to grow faster. And this allowed me to do that because basically what you're doing is buying a book of clients from someone else who was leaving the industry. And then, yeah, I bought it. We'll get into how that experience has been towards the end of this podcast because a lot of
Yeah.
lessons learned. But would I do it again? I think given the right fit, I would. I would do it again.
But here's, and this is why I say for your industry,
Yeah.
it's still a decent option
Yeah.
because if you're bookkeeping and you're doing all of that, there is a continuity to it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you are, it's difficult for clients to make the decision right away to say, hey, listen, I'm going to change my person
Mm-hmm.
because there's more work. It's easier because that firm already has that business and now
Mm-hmm.
they just need to get to know you, right?
Correct. Correct.
I'm not saying that's the easiest thing,
Mm-hmm.
but there's some stickiness to it, if that makes sense, right?
I don't disagree. I don't disagree for sure. Like, let's say, I don't disagree with that at all. It's hard for clients of a bookkeeping firm to switch because that bookkeeping firm already understands all the nuance and intricacies about their
Yeah,
business,
yeah,
quite well. it is much easier if I was using my lawyer once a year or once every 3 years to just, try a new one. What the hell? It doesn't really matter.
Because every
Um,
situation with a lawyer is new. So even if
right,
your lawyer
right.
kind of understands it, right? If
Yeah,
a new situation comes up, they need to re-understand. It's like you're really
correct.
explaining everything over again. And if you want to explain everything over again, 80 to
Hmm.
90% of it at least is new. You can move to that 10 extra 10% and find somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. I agree with that. That's definitely true. That's definitely true. Funny enough though, like I don't know if you're aware, but there were plenty of articles written about this. A lot of PE type firms have
Mm-hmm.
rolled up a lot of like professional services businesses. So they're doing this for like dental clinics, one, two,
Yeah.
three dental and dental corp. I believe dental corp is publicly traded, but essentially what they do is they buy dentist offices and manage the back office, I believe. People are doing this with veterinary clinics as well, all sorts of service businesses. So HVAC, all sorts of type of businesses, anything that you can think, white collar, blue collar, or service based business. Private equity firms are basically coming in and buying these a series of these in the hopes of putting them together and then generating efficiencies when it comes to cost to run them.
Yeah.
The costs could be back office, so you don't need two accountants, you need one. Costs could also be, now that you're bigger, you have economies of scale, you can demand better terms from your suppliers for equipment, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting how people are looking at the services space and basically buying out
Yeah.
businesses.
I think a lot of it is just because the back office stuff
Yeah,
is where, like, especially with the dentists, I've seen a lot of it where like they roll them up, and then if there's that one company that's doing all of the accounting, they bring it all together, the
yeah,
marketing, the customer management, everything. But with that on the front end, what happens, I feel, is either sometimes the dentist will, I've seen, get a share of this new company, or they're still working there.
yeah.
There's no disruption to the clients. There's not like
No,
you're buying it and then you're replacing it.
correct,
So
correct.
so if I were in a position to buy stuff like that and bring freaking optimization, so so this kind of changes
Mm,
the buying, I guess, scenario a little bit. If I could find a law firm where the lawyers remain, people
yeah,
remain, I take the back office stuff and make it more efficient because I'm putting more marketing, all that stuff, I'd
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
get it. Without a doubt, I would
Because
buy
like
it.
I think
Yeah.
when these dental corp guys approach dentists, I guess a lot of dentists are like, I don't want to run the business aspect of it. I just want to be a dentist.
Yeah.
You know, funny enough, that's a lot of accountants are very much the same. They're actually great accountants, but they're terrible business people.
Yeah. With lawyers, same way.
Yeah, they're great accountants. They know their
Yeah.
tax law really well, but
Yeah.
they can't run a business very well, Like
Yeah.
it's like a bit of a mess, like in terms of
Yeah.
just process, billing,
Yeah.
like how they build their clients, how they upsell. There's no like strategy really to it.
Yeah, there's
It's
no
sort of
upsell. It's just a
haphazard.
conversation. Did I remember during the conversation say something a little bit more differently and get a
Yeah,
client
yeah.
in? Like it's very, there's no systematic,
They're
nothing that you can measure and improve on.
correct, correct. It's basically sit and hope for referrals is the
Yeah,
strategy for a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
these businesses. So yeah,
yeah.
definitely interesting. Would you say, question number three, are acquisitions in general successful?
I mean, there's statistics on there where, what is it, like
Yeah, yeah.
1 out of 2 or something that, or
Yeah, I
majority
mean they're
now?
not great. They're not great. I in my head when I just think about it, I don't know. Something tells me that most acquisitions fail. Isn't that the thing? Most acquisitions
Yeah.
fail.
I did see what reminds me of something the most was acquisitions, like they don't go the way they are planned. I know that when, for example, Mercedes bought Chrysler,
Yeah,
and the hopes were that, like, you know what, they're going to exchange technology and Chrysler's quality is going to go up, and
yeah,
Chrysler actually used a lot of Mercedes parts to get the Crossfire out, the seat, or the 300, the Chrysler 300. The Jeep at some point was also sharing a lot of parts with the ML.
yeah,
So there was a lot of, like, they started sharing it, but in the end, the Mercedes quality came down as opposed to the Chrysler quality going up. And that's just because there's an entire corporate culture behind it that you can't just, it's not easy to change a culture once it's kind of been created. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, change is never easy in business. It's always a tough thing. And acquisitions, they're like the epitome of change. It means
Yeah.
change. An
Yeah. Yeah.
acquisition is definite change. So it's yeah, they're definitely not easy.
Yeah,
Not
because
easy
like, I
to
mean,
do.
if you look at like when you're building out your firm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Each person you take on that you're
Yeah,
hiring, you're making a decision. And here's the thing, like my perspective on hiring has changed so much. And we've talked about this in past podcasts too,
yeah,
but it's changed so much since starting a business versus working for somebody.
yeah.
Because when you're starting, it's like, yo, technical knowledge, that's good, but are you a proper culture fit? And that's what matters. And you kind of slowly craft that, and you get your HR behind that and all of that. And then to get somebody like, because you built an organizational culture around this, to get like another business and try to merge it in, it's not going to be that easy,
No, it's definitely hard.
right?
It's definitely hard. 100%. 100%. Should
So
we do number four? So talk to me about your
yeah.
experience buying a business. I guess this is you asking me this question.
Yeah. So what was your experience? Okay, first, before we get into your experience,
Yeah.
I want to know, what was your mindset or your train of thought going into the process before you even like bought anything, before you touched a firm, nothing. What was your mindset? Was it like something like, oh my God, I'm gonna buy something, it's gonna be, I'm gonna expand it, like it's gonna be fairly easy to expand? Is it fairly easy to acquire? Like, what was your entire perspective on buying, and then how did that kind of change once you bought?
Yeah. So I'd say in general, I'm a very optimistic person, is what I've
Mm-hmm.
learned about myself. And yes, I went in, the idea was I'm going to buy this business and grow quickly, grow
Mm,
quicker is was my idea. I didn't want to have a small firm. I wanted a big one. I wanted to get there quickly. And I thought doing an acquisition would be the quickest way to do
mm.
that. That was the impetus behind it.
And so,
Yeah.
did you think that, um,
Did oh yeah, hold on. To answer your other question,
yeah.
I thought everything would go hunky dory and it would go well. Like I would just buy the firm, I would step in, everything would work well, it'd be like a seamless transition. Yeah. Yes, you know, it is not really the case.
It's not as clean. I think it was still
No.
pretty clean.
Yeah. All
I
things considered, like it's now been what, almost 7 months. I'm really
yeah,
happy with my decision.
yeah, yeah,
It's pushed me in ways I didn't expect, which is a good thing.
yeah.
Because it really lifted me out of my comfort zone. I was getting a bit too comfortable. It pushed me
I
in a
mean,
bit of a
that's the other
different
thing
way.
too. When you're,
Yeah.
when the good thing I feel like, but with
Yeah.
buying a business, and I felt like, which was really good with what you did,
Yeah.
right? It takes a lot of stress, a lot of sleepless nights. I'm not going to say that, right? Like, and
Yeah.
that's, every single entrepreneur has that. If an entrepreneur says he doesn't, then he's not an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
like, it's like Elon Musk says, it's like you're chewing on glass and looking into the abyss. That's what it is, right? So you're trying to hope, like, okay, I gotta like figure everything out, because
Yeah.
everything ends with you. There is no somebody behind you or somebody else you could push it off to, nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like it's good to have a lot of experience jammed into a
Mm.
small time frame,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
instead of, you tiptoeing and kind of jumping into the water a little bit, maybe putting your foot in first, then kind of going in, and then slowly moving into deep end. This is just like you're thrown into the deep end. Here you go, figure it out.
Correct. Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So it has
Correct.
a good and it's bad. Like,
Yeah.
it's stressful, but then you figure out how to swim a little bit faster.
Yeah. And it's not for everybody's different. I usually learn by putting myself in very uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
Well, this is usually
Same.
my best learning.
Same.
Um,
Same.
so I mean, yes, I thought naively that I would buy the business, I would hold all the clients, all of the revenue. The business did a certain level of revenue last year. I thought that it would stay there, and anything, if anything, I would be able to grow it. I also had employees that joined me as well from the company that I purchased. But what I learned 6 months in
Yeah.
is that some clients are not a good fit, so you got to let them go. And these are hard conversations sometimes, but they're just not a good fit. You do business differently than other people do, and you just can't keep doing it the way they've done
Mm-hmm.
it just
Mm-hmm.
because like you want to do it their way. It doesn't work like that. I have my
Mm-hmm.
own style. And I want people to adapt to that style. I'm not gonna, mold myself to adapt to someone else's style. There's that, and the other
You're willing to, I guess it's like you're willing to work within a certain arena,
yeah,
right?
within a
But
certain band, right? But there's
yeah,
some things that I don't compromise on. For example, like the firm that I purchased had a lot of paper files. That's not something I wanted. I
yeah,
wanted a fully cloud-based firm. I don't want paper. So the paper stuff has been eliminated, is one change
yeah,
I've had to make. Um, the other thing was there's some clients that are just like low value. They don't pay you enough for the fees, and you tend to find that you spend a lot of time on them.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the
yeah,
ROI, the time return on time, is terrible given the work you do and the fees you're getting. So again, this is not because if I'm putting in that much time, earning this little money, I could put in that time, work on my sales process, get a client that is actually valuable, and then stick with them, as opposed to spending my time doing a job that doesn't pay me very well, that doesn't give me a good return on
yeah,
my time.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
the other thing you need to do. That's the other change you need to make.
And I want to make a comment on that because a lot of people listening were like, "Oh my God, money hungry." It's not about being money hungry. It's about
No,
this is kind of a sorting process. The people who aren't willing to pay enough, right, don't value your opinion,
yeah, they don't
and
exactly.
so if they don't value your opinion and your
Yeah,
experience and everything behind it, they should go find somebody that
yeah.
they find is worth it.
110%. And I'll say that again. If you don't value the service I provide and you don't
Yeah,
want to pay for it, that's cool. That's cool.
yeah,
I'll find somebody who does value what I do, and
yeah,
they'll pay me my rate that I'm
yeah, yeah.
asking for,
So
right?
it's
There are
all about value.
yeah, like if you cheap price is number one to you in your list of criteria for an accountant, cheap price is number one, then go get the cheap price, because I'm not the cheap price. That's
Yeah,
not what I'm competing on. And I quite frankly, when people come to me and tell me, "Oh, but you're more expensive," I'm like, I don't give a shit if I'm more expensive. That's not what I'm competing
yeah,
on,
yeah.
right? I'm
Cheap is
competing on
though cheap is always more expensive in the long run, but that's a
it
different
is,
podcast.
it is, it is, it is, it is indeed, it is
You
indeed.
either pay today or you pay more tomorrow. So it's up to you
Yeah,
what you want
it
to
really
do,
is. Yeah, it
but
really
yeah,
is. It
yeah,
really is up to you. And there are plenty, and in the accounting industry, some of the clients that I meet that come to our firm, that join our firm, the first thing they tell me is, my accountant doesn't listen to me. They don't respond. And
yeah,
usually, why do you think that is? Because they're not getting paid very well. So you're not a priority for them. Why would they
yeah,
respond to you if you're paying them like so little?
yeah,
Would you
yeah,
expect them to what,
yeah, yeah,
like rush to your aid when you're paying them
yeah,
next to nothing? They're not. They're
yeah,
not
yeah,
going to. You're not a priority for them. They'll focus on their bigger clients, just as you would if you're running a business like that.
yeah, yeah,
So that's one. The other thing that was a little unexpected for me. So yeah, the client turnover was one. The other thing that was slightly unexpected as well, the staff, it was hard for the staff to handle a new owner as well, especially in a smaller business like this one, because you're interacting with the owner every day. The staff didn't choose for this to happen. So for them, it was like, I don't know if we trust this person. There were definitely
yeah,
trust issues, when I
yeah,
first joined. Um, and yeah, so that the staff have also moved on. And to be honest with you, like it was just not a good fit. I like to think that I'm a person that's very easy to get along with. I'm very accommodating.
I can attest to
Um,
that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean, just didn't. It was, they wanted to move on. They got other jobs, wanted to go elsewhere. So yeah.
So did everybody that you acquire the business with leave or
The
is somebody still
employees,
around? Yeah.
yeah. So all of them have left. I have a new team now.
Oh,
Um, yep, yep. New team. Love my team right now. Absolutely love them. They're freaking fantastic.
that's good. But you
Yeah,
handpicked them, right? So you hand
yeah,
selected
I
them,
did. Yeah,
and it's this time it's not about taking them as they are. You get to pick the people with the right mindset, the ones that can produce like you. I feel like a lot of it is, man, like with me, I need to
hmm,
have people as sharp as me doing the work
yeah,
around. And
yeah,
I'm not saying I'm sharp. I'm saying I guess
yeah,
on the same level of sharpness, whether
yeah,
sharp or dull, whatever you want. You want them on the same wavelength so that you can communicate, they can pick it up and then they can run with it.
yeah,
As opposed to communication issues or even like a lack of work ethic or whatever it is, right? Different
yeah,
law and when I speak about law firms, even like there's different ways of of doing it, right? Like there's some people, yeah, we'll get around to it tomorrow. Some people are like, okay, I need to get it done right now. Like it really depends on the mindset of the previous owner and then what was kind of instilled in the workforce.
Correct, correct. I'd echo what you just said. It really is about two things, really, when it comes to employees. That's different about my team now than the team before.
Hmm.
Number one, attitude is really, really important. And we've talked about this in a separate
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
number one. And number two is just ownership, like taking ownership of the work you do, making it seem like it is your own, right?
yeah,
I'm generally very flexible with my employees. We have a fully remote team. They work whenever they want. They can start when they want. They end when they want. They have their own, like they got to attend to their families, etc. And that's totally cool. Like you work for me at a set number of hours during the day. I work harder, but that's my choice. And your choice is you want to be an employee and just work fixed hours. That's totally cool. But when you are working, you put your best foot forward, and that's what I really, really appreciate. That's all I can ask for.
yeah, yeah.
And funny enough, that wasn't the case with the previous team, but it is the case now with this team. Um, yeah,
But
it's just an attitude change. It's
yeah, I
funny.
mean, to what you're saying, like I believe I feel like I'm the same way. I don't care when the work is done, as long
Yeah,
as it's done properly.
correct.
I mean, there are timelines, you gotta hit those timelines, but it's not like, you gotta be working on this hour every single day
No, I
during
don't
this
give a
time,
shit.
right?
If you
Yeah,
tell me, oh, I gotta go pick up my son, go pick up your son.
yeah, yeah. As long
Like,
as
go
you
pick
know
up your
what, like
son, go to the dentist. Yeah, I don't care.
it's a relationship of trust. So you got
Correct.
to trust your employees. You got
Correct.
to trust the people around you to be doing the work that they
Correct.
need to be. Because
Correct.
hey, at the end of the day, if they're not, their job's at risk just as much as yours, right? So it's
Correct.
like everybody's in it
Correct.
together. It's a team mentality.
It really
Um,
is. It really is. I mean, let's
so
be honest. You and I wouldn't be where we are today without our employees. I wouldn't be here without my
yeah,
team.
no, no,
I wouldn't have
no,
the firm. I wouldn't have the clients, et cetera, et
yeah,
cetera. Like I'm really, really appreciate the work that my team does.
yeah,
But the only thing I ask for in return is just you take ownership of your work and come up with
yeah,
your best
yeah,
attitude when you're
no, no,
here.
yeah,
And
100%
that's all
agree.
I ask for. That's
Yeah.
all I ask for.
And then in terms of working more, man, it's like I feel like if you're a leader, you got to lead by example. You have to work them. Like there's no such thing as like everybody's working and I'm just kind of chilling.
No,
Like
no,
it's
no,
like
no. I go like you know me, man. Like I wake up on Saturday and start working. Like
yeah, no. And then it's like and I'm not a big fan of Elon Musk. I've got like whatever
yeah,
several different issues about what he's doing,
yeah. You
but
mean his work ethic?
his work ethic is something where he's like, you know what, I slept on the factory floor for X amount of time. When people asked him why, he said because and when everybody was doing their work and putting it together and all that stuff in the initial stages, I did not want them to think that I was not doing anything. I wanted to let them know that I was working harder than them, and if they were working down there, they saw me working as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I definitely believe in that.
I do believe in that as well. Like you as a leader set the example. Like
Yeah,
if you're coasting or you're MIA, that is an issue too. Like I've
yeah,
worked with leaders like that too. It's like it's not a great feeling. The leader doesn't need to work on the same work you're doing. It's your job to do whatever.
yeah,
But they need to be vested in the success of the firm and working to grow it or whatever it is that they're
yeah.
doing.
I mean, I feel like if you want to consider it like this might be a crazy exaggeration. If you want to see it more as like war, right?
Yeah.
For a business is war because you're competing against so many other businesses, so many other things to try to expand, and your employees and yourself are more of a tribe. You're a community that are
Yeah.
trying to move this organization outwards. In
Hmm.
order for you to do so, the people around you are covering your flanks, your blind sides, as you're trying to focus in what's in front of you. So as a
Correct.
leader, you're trying to figure out where the direction of this company is going, like how am I going to take off different markets and what moves I'm going to make. It's more grand strategy, whereas everybody else, it's not, you can have advisors and you're going to then have people who are handling the client service, all that stuff. And it's not possible with any of those people effectively contributing to that entire community.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
believe that like it's like yeah, like you need everybody. I don't believe in, you use people or any of that stuff. I definitely feel like with a business you got to build it together.
Yeah, yeah. No, you build it as a team. You build it as a
Yep.
team. You work as a team.
Yep.
Um, yeah, no, it's it's interesting. I was speaking to my employee yesterday, um, and she was saying like at her previous firm when she worked with accounting clients, She was required to say that, oh, I'm working on your client to the partner, on your client, da 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 da, right? And she would talk to another partner, oh, your client, da 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 da. But with me, it's like, this is your client, as in the employee's client. It's
Yeah.
yours, right?
Yeah.
It's so when I talk to her, she doesn't say Ali, your client. She says my client because she's responsible for it,
Yeah.
right? It's such
Yeah.
a different mindset. And I
Yeah.
thought the
Yeah.
other way
Yeah.
was so stupid. That is so dumb. Like, give the employee ownership, like it's her client. Yes, it's the firm's. Yes, ultimately it is mine. It's my relationship. And she fully acknowledged that. But it is her responsibility on a day-to-day. It's not mine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
her client. She takes
Yeah.
ownership of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's not
It makes
like
a huge difference.
it makes a huge difference. Huge, huge, huge difference, right? It's like, for example, when I worked in my previous job as well, when they told me, Ali, this is your project, it's so different than this is, I don't know, Jessica's project that I'm working on. Like, what the hell? I thought that
Yeah.
was so dumb. That was so
Yeah.
dumb. Yeah, no,
No.
it is, right? Like you give people autonomy and trust, and this is their thing, and you give them responsibility is like the way to lead, I believe.
Yeah. And the thing is, uh, with that, you also need to have broad, I guess, guidelines, but then they take ownership by kind of putting a little flavor of themselves in there too. You need to
Correct,
make
correct.
room in the organization for
Yeah,
that to kind of
yeah,
make up
yeah.
their own. And that is a leader's job. That's what a true leader is. You're not like managing. That's the difference
No,
between a
no, 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 no.
manager and a leader.
Correct.
Like as a leader,
Agreed.
you're like,
Agreed.
these are our rules and this is what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Your employees might surprise you, man. They might go above and beyond in ways you
Yeah.
can expect. Like if you tell them you have to do this, you have to do step number 5, blah, 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 they'll just do that. They won't surprise you or go above and beyond, right?
Yeah.
You go above and beyond when you're told, here's the goal. Let's get there, or let's try to delight the client in some way.
Yeah.
And then watch them surprise you, right? Is
Yeah.
the thing. Isn't that what like Steve Jobs says as well? Right? Like we hire smart people so not to tell them what to do, but so they can tell us what we need to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's such a
Yeah.
different mindset,
Yeah.
dude. Such a
Yeah.
different mindset.
Yeah. No, I feel like um when you do that, people like if you gave them a list of, hey, this has to happen and this has to happen and this has to happen, it becomes like just a painful existence where
It
you're
does.
going
It
in
does.
and nobody wants to like not come into their job and not use their brain. You're there the entire
Yes.
time,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You
Yes.
want a nest. It's like going buying a house or living in wherever you're living, right? You
Yeah.
buy a
Yeah.
condo, rent a condo, wherever it is that you're living,
Yeah.
and then you just leave it empty,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or if
Yeah.
you want, like, you just have the same generic, like somebody else picks out the furniture, right? Like, let's say you're
Yeah.
renting someplace and
100.
the owner
100%.
comes in and says, listen, I'm gonna I'm gonna furnish this and this is how it's gonna stay and this is what you gotta live. Like, what the
Yeah.
heck?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter, right?
I totally agree with you, dude.
Uh,
Totally. Ownership creates a very different mindset in anybody's mind, employee, leader, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Because if you tell them this is like, for example, I'm going to, for example, switch the system we're using for task tracking. But before doing that, I'm going to get my employees to give me feedback about which system they like because I want the system that we choose for them to be
yeah,
aligned to it and for them to
yeah,
like it, right? Not one that I'm imposing on them. I'll have my choices. I'll give them, the choices that I like as well. But then ultimately, I want it to be a consensus type of a decision because I want everybody to adopt it, one, and to change to it.
yeah,
Because if I was to be like, oh, this is the new system, screw the old one, like that's a much harder change than, oh, we chose this one together, therefore we're going to change
yeah,
to it,
yeah.
right?
And the thing is also you may not know everything that you need in the system.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
If you do, you're not doing your job, man. You should be focused on other stuff, right? So
Correct.
it's like, yeah, and it's
Correct.
like a lot of the times, even with really the systems nowadays, there's like so many different like windows to it that you're like, okay, well, my window may not be the best one, but everybody else is good, so I got to put up with mine, and you have to figure
Correct.
out that one instead
Agreed.
of finding the one with the you having the biggest window and everybody else has the smallest window. So
Yeah, yeah. Agreed. Agreed. 100%. 100%.
that's that.
That's funny.
It's interesting. This conversation has gone from
Yeah.
just totally different. But I got one other question though.
Go ahead.
If
Go
you could
ahead.
go back,
Yeah.
and change one thing that
Mm,
you did during the purchasing process, change one thing
mm,
and do it differently, what would that be?
mm. I think I've told you this already, but I'll repeat it again for the podcast. When I bought this firm, the broker that I used told me that I couldn't basically look at the list of clients that the firm had, the firm that I was
Mm,
purchasing. I couldn't see the list of clients. To me, when you're buying a business like an accounting firm, the most important thing, the thing that you're buying essentially is a list of clients. You're not buying anything else really. Computers are worthless. After 2 years, they're not worth anything. The employees, yeah, great talent is great to have. But essentially what you're really buying is the clients. And the broker's stipulation was that I couldn't look at the clients simply because if I got to look at the clients, I may, as a potential buyer that wasn't really committed, I may potentially steal them. I would like drop out of the due
yeah.
diligence process, contact the clients myself, maybe offer a cheaper price, and then steal them. Um, it's such a ridiculous thing. But I think what I would have changed was get more insights into the type of clients I'm buying because that is really make or break. These are the people that pay your bills. These are the people that you
Yeah.
work for.
Yeah.
So it would have helped if I had a bit of an insight into who they are exactly, how much they pay, etc., etc. Um,
So did
that
you
would have
just get
helped a lot.
one kind of big number? This is what the revenue
Yeah,
is,
I did. I did. I got one
and they
big
didn't let you
number.
look at. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't let me see industry breakdown, etc. I think for my next acquisition, that's I'd spend way more time there, less time on trying to figure out if the business is a fraud. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure out whether or not the business was a fraud, like trying to make sure the numbers were accurate, etc. And that's cool. It's important.
What do you mean,
But I
like in
think
terms of like reconciling bank statements and financial statements, that kind of
correct,
stuff? Like
correct.
everything's
I
adding up.
spent yeah, yeah. I spent a lot of time doing that, which is what people do usually in DD as well. It's important to have. I think in a lot of these small businesses, it's not really in the owner's best interest to misstate numbers. And usually people are generally, there are bad apples everywhere, but generally they're
Yeah.
quite truthful. Um, so I'd focus way more on the type of clients that I'm buying and potential upsell opportunities there rather than, trying to focus everything on, oh, let me figure out if there's a fraud here or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. I mean, and this is why people like, you know what, when they're buying, a lot of times when people are buying businesses, they don't get advisors. And this is exactly
Yeah,
why I say you need advisors. And then
you
you need
do.
to listen to them. And this kind of reminds me of one story. And I know we're probably tight on time,
Yeah,
but
no,
I
no,
want
go
to
ahead.
just give one story, which
Yeah.
is I had somebody come to me. Obviously, I'm going to be kind of changing the some of the facts a little bit. There's no association with the real
Yeah. Yeah.
client, but I'm trying to get like the story and the message is pretty much on point. They wanted to buy like some kind of small business being um anything like the revenues are less than I would say 300,000-400,000. You could say the profit margin is probably 3%, right? And something that they're in an industry where recession, these are some of the businesses that get hit the fastest.
Mm,
So they had somebody who was asking for them to buy in, and they were going to the purchase price was around 150,000 for 50%. They came to me with an agreement and looked at the agreement. The agreement was not an agreement of purchase and sale, right?
mm-hmm.
The agreement was like, hey, listen, you're going to take 50%. This is how much you're going to work. And structure was in hours. This is how much we're going to work. This is how much money you're going to get after year one, and in year two, and projections were after year two, you basically got your investment back, and you're just making a lot of money, and then that was it. And so I tell the client,
Mm,
it was a potential client. I asked them, like, if they're doing seven, like, first of all, it's not an agreement of purchase sale. It's probably closer to an operational agreement. You need an agreement of purchase sale where they're giving you warranties and guarantees and all this other stuff and non-competes or whatever it is, all this like things that you need to have to put in there.
yeah.
Like, but you need to ask like, and I'm like, where are the financials? So they send me financials, do the financials, or an Excel sheet with numbers on them. So I said, I said, okay, this is a great place to start. Now let's start with, their tax filings, and then look at the audit or the statements, and then let's go through the bookkeeping, and we'll go through their, what is it, their, bank records, everything.
Yeah.
The client came back, said, you know what, that's too much work, and this is a friend that I know, and I'm like, oh my God, highly
Oh my God.
advise not to go ahead with this without all of this information. They
Mm-hmm.
disappeared. I found out like probably a while ago that they bought the business without
And
any due diligence.
okay.
So and I'm right now I'm not gonna say whether it's good or bad or it's doing well
Yeah.
or not because I don't have that much insight. But I would definitely say when deals are too good to be true, they often are. Right?
Yeah.
More
Yeah.
often than not, they are.
Oh my God.
So and to fork over that kind of money, that's not a lot of money for everyone. So if you are ever thinking of buying, you need to have advisors,
Hmm.
because there's no recourse, right? There's no recourse. You buy a business, you give it to the other person, they could blow it on dumb stuff. They could give it to a friend, whatever it is, and then you could say, well, I'm going to try to sue them because they lied to me. Well, you could spend the rest of your life then throwing good money after bad money, trying to find somebody, and you can't
Yeah.
get like, blood from a stone type of thing. You're not like
Correct.
you have to have everything in place before you buy. You need to have the right advisors with you
Correct.
before you buy, and you need to have a good strategy. And if you do not have experience before, that's
Yeah.
when you pay people what
Yeah.
they're worth who have gone through that experience so that
Correct.
they can give you the right things to look at so that you're not making that mistake.
Uh-huh. I totally agree with that. It reminds me of another story as well, very similar.
Yeah.
This was actually a story where I was involved. It was a business being sold by somebody we know, this sort of a, far family friend type person. And I remember walking to that meeting. I was much younger, in my 20s. And the guy said, "Yeah, I'm selling my business." I said, "Could I see financials?" He's like, "We don't do business like this. I could give you some papers and you can take a look at them, but financials, like, I don't have that." I walked away from it because I thought this was kind of ridiculous. Like, how can you
Yeah.
not show me your financials? 2 years later, that business shut down, and I could have very easily said the person was very successful, they're wealthy, etc. I could have been like, well, maybe I'm asking stupid questions. Let me just trust them.
Yeah.
Like, they're clearly very
Yeah.
successful. They're doing. They must be right.
Yeah.
Because and I think what it comes down to, what you and I are both saying, it's information asymmetry,
Yeah.
right? You do this all the time in your work too. If there's a leak in my house, why the hell would I tell a buyer? Why would I tell a buyer that, hey, the furnace isn't really working on like Thursdays or something? It's not my interest to tell you. My interest is to sell the house because I need
Yeah.
to buy another house and I need to get the money to move it
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Why would
Yeah.
I tell you that there's a leak in the furnace that you haven't checked or that you don't know about?
Yeah.
No, I'll sell it to you and then you find out and it's your problem.
Yeah. No, no,
There's
I
always
100% agree.
the seller always knows more about the business that you do as a
Yeah.
buyer, and you as a buyer, you can't do anything about it. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
you're not going to know everything. There are always skeletons, always,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. And
You
and
just
and,
have to
and I'm
deal with
not
the
saying,
shit.
but we're not saying don't buy even. You just know where the skeletons are and know what you're getting
Correct.
into. That's all
Yeah,
you're doing.
exactly, exactly.
That's all you're
And
doing.
and just be prepared for surprises. Like it was for me too. Like there were surprises. There was like, oh shit, there's this I didn't expect, and then this client I don't like working with, etc., etc. There are always surprises. Just be ready for it.
Yeah. And I think that's why, like, especially if you're like a first time buyer or you're a
Yeah.
beginner buyer, jump into it, but you always need to get advisors on your side.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
lot of people either like they just feel like they're and that's the thing, they're smart enough to figure it out themselves. Like it's like, I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think so because then if everybody was smart enough to figure out themselves, then you wouldn't have professionals who are selling their time for a certain
Yeah.
amount, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
there's no way. It's just not your dimension. I'm not going to, you know what? If going back to that, even that the leak analogy, if you have a leak in your house and you're trying to fix it, don't call me. I don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
anything. Call a plumber. He knows
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He's got the
Correct.
experience to figure it out,
Correct.
right? Don't try to do it yourself because it's going to get worse. Even though
Yeah.
you own the home and you think you know the home better because you've lived in there, not the plumber, right? That doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything, right?
That
Because
doesn't
you
mean
still don't know
anything.
how to operate.
Correct.
Any of that stuff operates. So you need to get in there and you need to make sure that you get the right person who can do it properly. And
Yeah.
that's what it is.
100%. 100%. 100%. I mean, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like we could talk more about this topic and
I could
entertain
go on
lots
this
more
forever. Yeah,
things.
we could go on for
Yeah.
because it's we got experience. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what there's because there's so many pitfalls here. You've
Like,
got experience that gets you going and it gets you like, okay, there's so many things that, for example, even like you're looking at the list. That's one thing, right? There's probably so many other things that you've gone
yeah.
through
Correct.
that you know, like, all right, this is what you're supposed to be looking at. And not only that, this is information coming from you as an individual who is an accountant. You worked at service firms. You've
Correct.
seen several different businesses, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know how businesses operate, and you get what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like you need to get the right experience, because even like people who are in it sometimes don't see it properly, right? So it's
Correct.
like you have to get
Correct.
a person who's sharp. The advisor needs to know what they're doing, has gone
Yeah.
through it, has the experience, and then can advise you.
Agreed. 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 You're on point. You're on
Mm.
point. Yeah. All right. I think, yeah, maybe we can
Or-
leave it here. Yeah. Maybe we might continue like do a part two of this episode because it's a really, really interesting topic.
Yeah, what to look for when you're buying a business.
Yeah. What to look for in buying for business. Yeah. Fantastic. That'd be a great topic. All
Yeah,
right, guys. That's it for this episode. We'll leave it here. Horace, anything else to add?
no, that was good.
All right. All right. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Take care, guys.
Take care.